Hi, I'm DJ Ware. On this episode of the Cyber Gizmo, I'm going to be looking at Peppermint OS. This is version 11 still, but they've updated it in August, and that's what we're going to talk about. Please stay tuned right after this. One such example of what I consider innovation is Peppermint OS. These people that are working on this just amaze me on the kind of work they do. So let me show you an example. So the first thing I want to show you is what a kind of a generic install of Xfce would look like. This is the one that comes with Debian 11. So I haven't done anything to it, haven't done any theming with it. And please don't misunderstand me. I'm not making fun of Xfce. I know there's a lot of people that use it and like it. All I'm trying to show you here is that when you're gonna use something like this, and you start out from the baseline here, there's quite a bit of work in order to get this into a theme that is consistent and looks pretty good. So let me show you what I mean by that. So down here this is called the dock, and then up here is your menu bar. So from the dock, I'm going to launch my file manager, which is Thunar, and I have that icon set right there. Now let me launch it from the desktop, and we'll go from the file system view, and you'll notice that these two things look quite different. So there's two different themes that are going on here, at least from the presentation of the file folders. Well, I know these can be changed. My point is that that's extra work. So that's my point. So let's see. Will it switch if I go into, and it does. So it just doesn't seem very cohesive to me. Yeah, we have a different. It looks one way going through it this way, and it looks one way going this way. So, yeah, that's because you have themes in your home directory that control how that looks. So the other thing is that the layout of the screen is kind of weird in that you have access to your applications up here, and then you have your dock down here. Now, typically, if you look at the way, let's say, a Mac is designed, for example, which does use the dock, and Windows too, by the way, also uses a dock. So they're laid out where everything is available from the dock. I don't understand why we have this mix between these two, other than the fact is that's just the way Xfce works. So, all right, let me show you what, now as far as the applications are concerned, they're going to render out the way they're written. So yeah, but let me show you how Peppermint does it. So I'll be right back. Let me go set up for that. Okay, this is Peppermint. Peppermint is also based on Xfce. And the first thing you'll notice that they have done here is they have made the design more consistent. So the first thing you're greeted with is this welcome app, where it gives you the ability, to go through and tune the system the way you want it, get some release notes, find out about, how the system is settings or set up. It's all very clear and it's at your fingertips. You don't find that this dock is merged in together. So this is your application menu that was up here. It's down here in a more consistent way. The color scheme and the presentation is consistent. And yeah, and you have, let's take a look at this. Let's see. So I have a presentation here. Let's go up into the file system and see if it changes. And nope, it doesn't. It does not change. It looks the same. Consistent. So in order to get it to that, to this kind of a look and feel, it takes some work to do that. And so that's my point, is that when you're starting out with something like Peppermint, you've got a group of people that are cognizant of, hey, we want this to look consistent, and we want this to look the same no matter where you launch it from. So there's also, I think there's also a menu here to get to it. Let's see if we can find it. I should be able to find it. Should just be called the file manager. Yep. So again, this is the one launched from the dock. This one is launched from the applications menu. And let's go up. See if it changes abruptly. And no, it doesn't. So yeah, this looks exactly the same too. I'll go into user and we'll get to that same place. Virtually identical. So that's the key. You want to keep things consistent, and that's all I'm saying. Not making fun of Xfce at all, just saying that it is a lot of work that the Peppermint folks have done. But if you look at, and we're going to look at Peppermint today and look at what these people have done. This is a very small team. This is not thousands of developers or even hundreds of developers. It's a handful of developers that are working on this, a handful of people that are doing this kind of amazing work. And that is why the innovation has been sparked from the open source side of things. There are even people, though, in Linux that are innovating operating system. We've seen it with Nix OS. We've seen it with Dahlia OS. They're taking both Linux and Fuchsia from Google and combining it into a very unique platform. And we're also seeing it with Peppermint 11. So today is an update. They're updating their systems and bringing out a new release. So when I reviewed this back, I think it was in February or something, and when I reviewed it, it was a 64-bit only release. Had a few rough spots, but you know, that team has been through an awful lot. They lost their leader, and pretty much their team, I mean, that one person was doing most of the work. When Mark Greaves passed away, that project sat for 2 years, and people were thinking, oh, it's dead. It'll never come back. And it has. And it's come back with a vengeance. I mean, I just can't tell you how much work those people are doing and how. In February, the only release they had was a 64-bit version of the Debian baseline for Peppermint OS. Now you can get three other downloads. The first one is a 32-bit Debian baseline for Peppermint OS because they used to have that one. But they've also added two more. So you can get a 64-bit or a 32-bit version of Peppermint OS that is based on Dev1. And Dev1 is a fork of Debian. It's basically, it was done in protest. I think it was 6 years ago that they did that they broke off. And why did they do that? Well, there was a heated debate. It went on. It was pretty serious. That went on over systemd, to include it or not include it. For the longest time, Debian held back. I think they either were one of the last or the very last distribution that finally started implementing systemd. And when they did, the developers on the other side of the argument broke away. And they formed their own fork of Debian, and they would refuse to put systemd on it. So there's a number of fixes that have accompanied Peppermint 11. I'm calling it 0822 for August 2022. So I believe that this is new, but I might be wrong about this, but I don't recall being able to choose options for the swap file during the install. In fact, I don't even think I remember seeing, I think it was just either you had the disk or you went and partitioned it. I think that was the only options you had. Either manually partitioned your drive or you put up with whatever they defaulted to. And the amount of space that they allocated for the swap would be enough to hibernate your machine. Well, now you have an option where you can say, no, I don't need to do hibernation. I'm not on a laptop. So typically laptops are where you would want to do hibernation. Of course, you would want to have enough swap file to hold your entire memory. so that it wrote it out correctly. But, that's neither here nor there. The second complaint that came out with the original Peppermint 11 was that Firefox's ESR was way old. I think it was version 70 something. And at a time when the version 90 was out on the Firefox website. So yeah, it was way behind. But that's typical with Debian. If you're on the stable repos, you go in and you pick out a package, you're going to pick one out that was written 2 years ago. So they have fixed that. The latest version. In fact, it was funny. Yesterday, I installed Peppermint, and then I put Firefox out, and then I came back today and I did an update, and it installed a new version of ESR, and that what just happens to be the most recent. So they are obviously lined up with either the testing releases or the security releases, because they're getting the latest copies of that browser as they're released by Firefox. The other thing is that there's now an application called hblock. Okay, next what we want to do is, let's go over here and check hblock. Let's see what I got here in my host file. So that's the way my host file looks right now. Let's, of course, I am going to need to be root to do this, and then it will download. I assume this is a list of hosts that have been known to send ads. So 200, yeah, not just 5 hosts, but about 263,000 hosts. You don't think ads aren't serious? So this is what it does. Kind of a poor man's ad blocker. So, and then to turn it off, you do a -S none, -D none, and that will shut it off. And you should get blocked 0 domains. And my host file should now be back the way it was. It's actually a shell script. And what it does is it sets up ad blockers in your system. So it's not an active ad blocker. It is a site blocker that has been known to produce ads or link to ads. So yeah, which one's better, Pi-hole or this? Well, all it's doing is it's neutralizing websites. So it's just won't allow the system to go to those websites that host ads. So is it effective? Maybe a little bit, but probably not 100%. So it's a war game. So yeah, I do this, they do that, I do this, it ratchets up. So yeah, it's a constant game of cat and mouse. The memory that it runs on, at least I saw it in a couple of places where it was about 378 meg of memory in use on the initial startup with just a clean slate. 5.5 gig of disk, that was after I put my stuff out. I don't know what it was before that. I didn't look, sorry. As far as features go, with the system, I'm sure that there's a lot of things that are going on under the hood. But one of the big things and the important things that this team has done is they're starting to construct the manual that they once had for Peppermint 10. So they're starting to build up the documentation that they had. Yeah, documentation is always last. The first thing that everyone on projects like this that have been asleep for 2 years is just getting caught back up, right? Getting the system back up to where it should be. I'm not going to show you an installation demo. There's 2 pieces in this release that are pretty helpful. The first one is the welcome screen. In there are some information about how to do various things. There's like documentation. There's also links to the forums if you're running into problems or have comments about something that isn't working right and you need some help with it. You can go to the forum. Their people are very good, very friendly. They won't chase you out and make you feel bad. At least I have never seen any of them do that. Plus, there's some setup things in there. For example, you can go in and set up which browser you want, because unlike other distros, Peppermint does not ship with a browser. There's so many choices, right? There's so many different ones that maybe, if they put Firefox on it, maybe you don't like Firefox. If they put Chromium on it, maybe you don't like Chromium. So they let you pick, and you can choose which ones you want. They don't restrict you from using snaps. They don't restrict you from using Flatpak, but they don't install them by default either. I think that's not because they don't like those technologies or don't want those technologies. I think it's more of a, we don't want to ship all this stuff. If you're not going to use it, why have it on there to begin with? Because then you've got to take the time, to remove it yourself and clean up the system. So, yeah, and I perfectly understand that. That makes total sense. Leave the system kind of barren and bare bones, and then let people put on the system what they need. So that's what I had. I have kudos to the Peppermint team. Great job. I have the benchmark results. I don't know when I'll get to doing Dev 1, but I have the benchmark results for that already done. Since I was doing Peppermint, I decided to do them both. I've got 2 different machines, so I can dedicate the benchmarks. They're identical, so I can dedicate one to run the benchmark on one and one to run the benchmark on the other. So anyway, I have the benchmarks, and I will have those for you at the end of this video. With that, I hope you enjoyed this today, and I hope you enjoyed this look at Peppermint 11. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please like and subscribe, and hope to see you all again very soon, and bye for now.